I will be king. Stick with me.
Everyone knows Scar from The Lion King, the lion with the scar across his face who became the villain of the Pride Lands. In the first Lion King, we see he got a lot of help from the hyenas, especially Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed. But how did he team up with the hyenas? And why did he choose these three to be his closest allies? Because in the movie, we don't really see how Scar found his hyenas. Suddenly, they are friends and help Scar take down Mufasa, and we just have to assume all hyenas are bad. But what if this wasn't sudden? Because according to the comics series, The Rise of Scar, there were some things that happened before they became friends. Because here we learn that it wasn't just a random pick of hyenas. Two vultures actually helped Scar on this path. Because according to the comic, when Simba was born, Scar lost his place as heir, to be the next on the throne after Mufasa. Scar was furious that he lost his place to a stupid tradition, so he was looking for another way to get to the throne. Scar always had a desire to rule, but his father had always favored Mufasa since they were little. This made Scar's hate towards Mufasa grow even stronger as they got older. So when he heard young Simba was next in line for the throne instead of him, he exploded with anger. Therefore, the vultures saw their chance, because they were always hungry and always desperate for food. So they thought if they could help Scar get to the throne, they were able to eat more under his rule. Therefore, they went over to Scar and told them about a hyena friend they had made. Because this hyena friend had told them some of the hyenas weren't happy with the way the queen ruled. This friend was Shenzi, the hyena we later see as one of Scar's closest allies. The vultures thought if they could get Scar to her, she might help Scar to defeat their queen. Scar would have a big army of hyenas then, which could help him defeat his brother Mufasa. But this queen wasn't as you expected, because this was Queen Zohor, the one that would sacrifice her clan members if she was hungry. Because when there was no food around, she called for a reading of the bones. Here, she would eat a bone, which was to determine who would give up their life to feed the rest of the clan. And just when the vultures and Scar arrived and had hidden behind rocks, Queen Zohor called for another reading of the bones. This time, it was Shenzi's turn to sacrifice herself. Shenzi thought this was unfair, but the queen said this was the law. But then, Scar showed himself and saved Shenzi just in time. Scar told the queen he would get food for the hyenas if she let Shenzi help him. The queen doubted his hunting skills, in which Scar asked for more help. The queen took her chances, since all she could lose for extra food were some hyenas, and chose her two moist, expandable hyenas. Here, we meet the always laughing Banzai and Ed. Banzai told Scar that if he couldn't get them food, he wouldn't mind eating Shenzi, and Ed thought this was hilarious. Then, Shenzi told them to get serious, so they all teamed up and left the elephant graveyard while Scar made a plan. Banzai and Ed had to make chaos so that Zazu would report back to Mufasa and be distracted from the real plan. In the meantime, Scar and Shenzi would lead the herds into the elephant graveyard to Queen Zohor's hyenas. But Scar had a second plan in mind, which Queen Zohor wasn't aware of. Because as Scar was standing on a hill, showing Queen Zohor all the animals they led to the elephant graveyard, he told her it was time to step down from her throne. At that moment, Scar threw her down the hill into the running herds, because Shenzi said the hyenas would move over to Scar's side easily if the queen was gone. In the meantime, Banzai and Ed had returned and looked over to the queen's body. But to their surprise, Zohor survived and demanded her clan to attack Scar and the hyenas that had betrayed her. She thought she could defeat them, but Scar had more allies than she thought. Because in that moment, the two vultures had returned, but this time with their whole clan. They attacked Zohor and her fellow clan members and demanded them to never return. But what happened to the hyenas that didn't want to support Zohor anymore? Well, they stayed with Scar. Because Scar had promised them plenty of food when he would take over the Pride Lands. And when we look at the movie, we hear from Sarabi that all the herds have moved on.
Where is your hunting party? They're not doing their job.
Scar, there is no food. The herds have moved on.
This was probably because the hyenas interrupted the balance of the circle of life. But the hyenas already supported Scar before he actually took over the Pride Lands, because we also read about them in the book, A Tale of Two Brothers. Here, we read how Scar is trying to set Mufasa up while he asked him to go out hunting. But before they leave, Scar meets up with his hyena friends, telling them angrily that his father had broken his promise again, because they were going hunting with the three of them in the first place. But his father canceled because he had to calm things down in the Pride Lands. So now, he was only going to hunt with Mufasa. He told the hyenas his father was looking for them, so that they should hide until things had cooled off. But before Scar could leave, the hyenas came up with an idea. They suggested Scar, back then still Taka, would make Mufasa look bad, so that their father would choose him as his heir instead of Mufasa. But this didn't go exactly as planned, because while Ahadi was looking for the hyenas, Taka took Mufasa to the last watering hole with Cape buffaloes in it. But luckily for Mufasa, Rafiki had suspected that something was up with Taka, so he had followed them in secret. Just when Mufasa was asking if the buffalo could share his water, Taka came out of the bushes and demanded the buffalo to do so, or face Mufasa in combat. The buffalo angrily charged at Mufasa, and Rafiki told him to run. They shook off the buffalo just in time, but then realized Taka was still out there. They went back and saw that Taka was under attack by 3 buffaloes. And according to the book, this is how he got his scar, even though I think this isn't the Scar we see in the movies. But for that, you should look at this video. But just when Mufasa tried to save his brother, their dad Ahadi came, and with the help of an elephant, they calmed everything down. Taka admitted he had tried to set his brother up, because he was mad their dad broke his promise. So this is another part of Taka, or Scar, his story where the hyenas were already in the game. They had filled his mind with an evil idea, but it didn't stay by this. Because when Scar had killed Mufasa and sent Simba away, he was ruling the Pride Lands with his hyena army. He let the hyenas hunt everything they wanted and destroyed the circle of life, which almost led to the Pride Lands' downfall. But then, Simba returned, and I think we all know how this ended. Simba faced Scar in combat, and when Simba is about to win, Scar tries to blame the hyenas, as a last resort to save himself.
It's the hyenas who are the real enemy. It was their fault. It was their idea.
Eventually, Simba gives Scar the chance to run, but Scar refuses and tries to attack Simba again. But Simba saw it coming and threw him down the rock, which was now completely surrounded by fire. Down the rock, the hyenas were waiting for him. They were angry because they heard what Scar had said to Simba. It then seems like they have eaten Scar, and after that, the film ends. We don't know what happened to them. Maybe they got burned in the fire, or maybe they ran off to live somewhere else. Because we don't see the hyenas again in any other movie. But we do see hyenas return in the Lion Guard. Here, we even see some good hyenas, like Jasiri. But there is no trail of Shenzi, Banzai, or Ed. There are some theories that suggest that Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed are related to some hyenas we see in the Lion Guard. I do see some similarities, but that is something for another video. Let me know if you want to know more about that. The hyenas during the Lion Guard also seem to know more about Scar before he returns in his fiery spirit. Therefore, it could be that Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed are related or did meet once and told the hyenas in the Lion Guard about Scar. Because Janja and his clan have the same evil mindset and a desire to rule, and they are even as stupid as the other hyenas.
Lying around. Wait, I got one. Make mine a cub sandwich. What you think?
Okay, I'll go this way.
Yeah, and you'll go that way.
But what would have happened if Scar never met his hyena friends? Because the hyenas gave Scar something he never got from his family: loyalty and respect. Scar often felt ignored and less important than Mufasa. But with Shenzi and her group, he found others who listened to him. This support probably made Scar feel confident enough to plan Mufasa's downfall. If Scar hadn't met the hyenas, he might have kept his anger to himself, and stayed in Mufasa's shadow. Even if he did act against Mufasa, he would not have been strong enough to stay king alone. The lionesses, like Sarabi, would have noticed his weakness and probably turned against him quickly. His rule would have been very short without the hyenas by his side. So, what do you think has happened to Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed after the Lion King won? Did they burn in the fire, or did they move somewhere else? Did these hyenas have any influence on Scar's evil mind? Or would Scar have been the same without them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.